Okay, y'all. So let's talk about staying in places or spaces that is offering us no growth and knowing when it's time to leave. It's funny because I had already written this down. I had already decided I was going to record this video. And I was scrolling TikTok and Tabitha Brown had just put up a post about bananas and how when they outgrew certain spaces, if they weren't picked in that moment, they started to die, right? So before leaving my childhood home, I found out that my energy was being sabotaged, for the lack of better words, and that there was no growth for me in that childhood home. Just to rewind it back, I was in my childhood home right before COVID, and that was because I had run into some financial issues. So I moved back home with my mom and my stepfather. Now, just to explain the dynamics, my stepfather tolerated me. He didn't really care for my mother's children, but I was there with my mom, right? And then my mom also was going to dialysis regularly, and she had different appointments, so she needed the help, right? So once I got there or got in there, COVID hit, so I was kind of stuck too. And then also, I could tell my mom didn't want me to leave because the relationship that she had was not that great. And so me and her had conversations and different stuff like that. And I could tell that she enjoyed the company. Because whenever I tried to leave or I talked about moving out, she would make reasons why I probably shouldn't move out. I couldn't move out. You think that's the best idea? And I'm just like, okay. So I was like, I think she just don't want to be lonely. So, okay, now keep in mind, her husband was in the home with her, but the relationship is not great. So, I'm taking my mom to her dialysis appointment only once a week because her husband still kind of had a little part-time job. So on that day that he actually worked, I took her. Now this is how disconnected the household was. I didn't know that he did not know that I had been taking her all the months to her appointments. When COVID hit, he got laid off basically, and so he was able to take her. He didn't know that I was the one that was taking her. He thought she was catching an Uber. So, so in that, I got comfortable in, living at the childhood home. So I just got a message through, and living at the childhood home. Now, what I will say is, again, this was my childhood home. This is the home I grew up in. We moved there when I was 8 years old, and that's where I grew up. It never really felt like a home, right? Because again, there were extra kids. That my mom had 2 kids by him, and there was a noticeable difference. Me and my brother, and then his 2 children, which are my brother and sister, right? But I'm just saying it like that in order to keep the understanding. So, in saying that, we were treated differently. It was noticeable, but I'm the only one that actually spoke up on it all the time. I rebelled, right? I couldn't stand him. He didn't like me, so it's fine. So during that time I was there, my mom was getting sicker and stuff. He would make comments about how he would, well, when if something happens to your mom, you have to move, right? Da 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 da. And I'm thinking like, yeah, I know, I'm not staying here. But my mom was paying the bills in the household. He was paying, like, I guess the mortgage or whatever he does. She was paying the household bills. So when she did pass away, he started looking at it as, well, dang, now I got to start paying those bills. So then he decides that, hey, a good idea, it's just, you as a single woman, you need security and blah, blah, blah. So he tries to paint it as that. So my daughter's in school in that area, so it was convenient for us to be there. So I'm like, okay, well, and he tried to paint, well, if you move into your own place, you have to pay this. None of that mattered to me. It was just more so the convenience of being in that space because my child's school was right there. So I'm like, okay, plus I was grieving. I just, when I grieve, I don't do nothing, right? So um I was grieving the loss of my mom. It was familiarity. It was my childhood home. It was familiar to me. So I'm staying there, and as I got into spirituality and stuff, and I was told that I needed to move out of state. I was moving out of state. I got to the point, they gave me the date and everything when I was supposed to move. That time came, started coming close. They was like, okay, it's a delay because she's not ready. We're going to delay your move. Great. So then after that, it was delayed for almost a year. It was delayed a year, actually. Yeah, it was delayed a year. And during that time, my team took me through the most rigorous healing that I could go through, to the point where I was like, I don't want to do it no more. I don't want to heal no more. I don't want to move. I don't want to do none of this because it hurts too bad. Seeing the stuff that I could see hurt too bad. But once I did start moving stuff and stuff started shifting, the aggravation from him became greater, because one thing was that I either was in my room or I was outside the house. I didn't just hang out around inside the house. I didn't let my child hang out around inside the house, meaning we didn't leave our rooms. We stayed in our rooms, and when we left our rooms, we would be leaving out the door. I rarely cooked because I just didn't want to be in there. But when I did cook, I cleaned up behind myself, because he had to make a comment one day about him washing the dish. I'm like, you don't wash our dishes. He's like, yeah, I do. I put them in the dishwasher and stuff like that. I'm like, could they be clean? But keep in mind that he's the type that would rinse off the dishes and put them into the sink and then put them into the dishwasher. I would I washed my dishes that I used and put them over into the sink. So I guess he thought that me putting them into that sink was me rinsing them off so they could go into the dishwasher. That I was actually cleaning my dishes. So he made that comment. I told him, I said, no, I'm washing dishes. So then he started telling me, well, you don't communicate. You don't communicate either. Like, you didn't ask me anything. So I didn't see. I thought you was doing. I thought that's the way you wanted to do it. Put them in the dishwasher. That's on you. But they were clean when they went in the dishwasher. So I'm trying to think. So anyway, as I'm doing my healing work, so now he really has no contact with me, because I don't really come out in the house. I don't, only time I give him like the money that I'm supposed to pay him monthly. I'm just putting it on the table in an envelope and moving on. He does little nitpicky things to try to spark your attention or get you to say something, and that's not fazing me. I see what he does, I move on. So that's annoying him even more. So he's talking about me to people. I'm being shown these things, right? Because I'm intuitive. So I'm seeing him talk about me to people. I'm seeing the people sitting around allowing him to talk about me, right? And him not, those people not telling, like, if somebody is talking to you about the same stuff all the time, when you get tired of hearing that conversation, like, hey, if the person is that bad, then just put them out. Why are you allowing them to stay in your home if they're that bad? So I was just like, whatever. So fast forward to a few months ago, I've elevated so much in my healing journey, and that my gifts have opened up so much, is that now they're stagnant because of me being in that space. The energy in that space is detrimental to my gifts. The energy that he's pushing off is very toxic, basically. And my team says that the way that he feels about me I'm starting to project those things onto myself. So I'm starting to feel the same way about myself that he's feeling about me, because it's been time for me to go. And I've chosen to stay there and just be content, right? So I'm like, okay. So now the message here is that basically you sticking around in a spot is keeping you stagnant and also keeping you in a cycle. And I'll tell you why. The day after I left, well, the day before I left the home, I've been prepping to move and all this stuff. And so my mother, my grandmother, and my great grandmother, now all three are passed over, their energies came to me during a class. They came to my teacher, and she was like, okay, they're all three here. So basically they came in support because they knew I'm freaking out in my head because I'm about to move across country away from everybody. So they came in support. They came in enlightening because they brought me more information about some of the things that I need to do as far as like healing the generational bloodline. And then also, they just basically let me know that I'm going to be okay in this move because again, I'm upper 40s and I've never left my hometown. And they're telling me I gotta leave. I gotta leave that hometown. So then the next night, the next day I leave. I moved out. I didn't get on the road because I still had stuff to do. And so it got kind of late in the day and I didn't want to be driving too late in the day. So I decided to get a hotel room. That night, my mom came to me and told me, she was like, thank you, I love you, and now I'm free. Me staying in a home with a man that she didn't like anymore and that she was stuck in a cycle with because she didn't value herself, she didn't have worthiness, she didn't have the self-love that she should have had for herself or she would have been gone. But me staying in that house kept her in bondage in that house too, because now I'm repeating a cycle of me staying in a home, although there was not that type of relationship, like an intimate relationship between us, but there was a family type of relationship, and it's okay to walk away from family too. But me standing at home, not asserting my worthiness, not asserting my self-love, because if you love yourself and you thought you were worthy, you would never be in a home with a man who cannot stand you, right? And me being in that home with this man who could not stand me was keeping my mother stuck in that cycle as well. So I was stuck in a cycle, she was stuck in a cycle. So it was generational, right? So, and also the night before when my great grandmother and grandmother and mother came through, they was like, she's gonna do it. She's gonna break the curses. She's the one that can do it. So I'm like, okay, y'all. So, but they couldn't tell me that leaving that home was one of the cycles I needed to break. I just needed to do it. So when I walked away from the home and my mom came to me and told me that she was now free, that was such an emotional day. That whole next day I was like emotional. I was like kind of in tears, but I also felt powerful. I felt powerful to go ahead and do what I needed to do. Also, I had got the number 999, so that also let me know that I had just broken a cycle. So I'm just saying, when you outgrow a space, don't just sit in that space. If you're trying to elevate and move forward, it's best for you to move forward. Don't hesitate to move. If your team told you to do the move and your team told you would be taken care of, do the move. Don't stay stuck in a cycle where you're not loving yourself, you're not thinking yourself of being worthy to move. You are like, please don't do that to yourself. It's so much better to just take the leap and let the chips fall where they may. So again, staying in spaces and places where you've outgrown is keeping you stuck in a cycle and it's killing you. It's tearing you apart. And I will honestly say that I've also said before it was confirmed, I've said before that house, staying in that house and in that relationship killed my mother. The hatred, the anger, the frustration, the depression, all of that was basically because of the home that she was in and who was in that home with her. And I'm going to start talking about healing your body by healing your heart first. So when I do chakra work, you have to open your heart chakra because that's where your love is, and that is where your energy is to everything that open your gifts and all that. So, but there is a phrase in NDRE's song, Get It Together, that says, in order to heal your body, you have to heal your heart. And that is so true. When you have unforgiveness, when you have hate, you have anger, you have all those issues within your heart, it affects your body. It affects all different parts of your body. And there's a book called Metaphysical Anatomy, and it gives you like the spiritual meaning behind certain ailments. It's so good. It's such a good book. Like, I just put my hand on that book and knew immediately that this is something I'm gonna have to teach. And so I'll be doing a few videos on that too, like just different stuff like knee pain, earaches, just stuff like that. People don't realize that a lot of the pain, the cancers, those are generational curses, or those are things that you have unresolved. And I will get into a story about that one day of an aunt that I had that passed away from cancer, and I knew that it was because of secrets that she had not released. She had secrets that she did not tell. And I don't care what anybody in my family would say. I've seen the things that she held on to. Was I there at the time? No. But as a spiritualist, I have seen some generational stuff that needs to be healed. And it's obvious. It's so deep. When you have, that's a whole nother video, but just understand that certain ailments that, well, not certain ailments that we have are spiritual, and they're linked to trauma that we have unresolved. Healing your inner child will help you heal a lot of your ailments. Doing your shadow work will help you heal your ailments. So opening your heart chakra, being open to the healing, will help you start to heal certain ailments within your body. Again, if you need a reading, or you need me to tap into the energy around you to see what it is that you need to be working on, we can do that. And again, that is something that you can get off of my website. I'm trying to think. I think that's it. I think that's all that I have for that. Again, don't stay somewhere where you're not welcomed. Don't stay somewhere where it's not offering you any type of growth. If it's not growing you, you need to be going, okay? You need to be walking away from it. And I think that's it. I keep saying that. I just want to make sure I got everything. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all later.